Hello, I'm Natalie from the Early Years Alliance, and today I'm here to talk to you about how you can support your children through periods of transition. Usually at this time of year we're starting to think about lots of the transitions that children might be making, whether that's getting ready to start a new childcare setting or perhaps leaving a childcare setting and getting ready to start school in September. And these transitions are really big for our children and they do need lots of support to make it a really positive experience. But of course, with the current situation, we're actually having lots more of these transitions because our children have been at home for a really extended period of time, and it might be that they're just starting to go back to school a little bit before the summer break or back into their childcare settings now, having had quite a significant time away from them. So I wanted to share with you today a few things that you can do to perhaps support your child to make that transition a little more smoothly and how we can really support their emotional well-being during this time. When children return to these childcare settings and school settings that they've been away from due to the pandemic, we really need to think positively about that step. Children have been out of these settings, so they haven't been having their usual educational input, but that doesn't mean that they haven't been learning. They might need a little bit of support with some of the technical aspects of their learning when they return. But we must place great value on experiential learning, and children learn so much when they are in their home environment. So what I would encourage you to do is not think about their return to these settings as a period of catching up. No children are behind at this point in time. And really try and focus on what we can do to support that transition, because this is what they're going to be doing in these childcare and school settings. Really focusing on social and emotional development and how we can support that aspect of learning to support them as an overall learner. And this is really something we can do as families and we can do at home to support the work that's going to be happening in these settings. The way that children feel is really closely linked to those important relationships that they have with the people that are close to them. And those important relationships are through which we can build their self-confidence and their self-esteem. And when we have really positive interactions with children within these loving relationships, we can really support them to feel good about themselves. And when they feel good about themselves, they will naturally become much happier in their learning environments and they will actually become more successful learners. And we can do this through a number of different ways at home to really support them to feel extremely valued. We can provide them with positive interactions throughout the day and times where they can feel like they have the opportunity to have that real interaction with you, where they can talk about their thoughts and feelings, they can feel very supported, and that's going to build that overall confidence. So the first really simple idea that I wanted to share with you is making a treasure box. So this is something that you can do as an activity with your child as the initial creative activity, but then something that they can add to and you can use throughout your week as one of your positive interaction moments with your child. So what I've got here is a cereal box that I've deconstructed, turned inside out and just stuck back together, and I've cut a little flap in the top, and this is going to be a treasure box. So I would give this to the child and with them as a lovely activity that you can sit down and do together. I would provide them with some craft materials. So here I've got some paint sticks and some glitter glue, stampers, felt pens, whatever it is that you might have in your stationery and craft sets at home. And we're going to make this something really special and really personal to that child, so we can talk about their favourite colours, what sort of shapes and patterns they'd like to put in here. You could support them or for them write their name on there, so it just really becomes something that is quite personal and unique to them. So we can have this lovely crafting time together. And then what you can do is encourage your child to put special or items of interest in here every day. So it might be that when you're out for a walk and they're collecting some of the little natural treasures that they find, and there's something that they find really interesting and they want to bring home with them, then they can pop that into their treasure box. It might be just an item or a toy that week that they're really enjoying playing with, something that's feeling really special to them that week. They can pop it in their box. It could be photographs or pictures of their favourite characters from their TV programmes or photographs of friends and family that they just want to have that special moment with. In it goes. So just collecting those things that are really interesting them throughout the week, and you would be surprised how quickly your child will engage with this activity and really connect that throughout their day, thinking, I want to put this item in my treasure box. Because that leads to the next step, and this is something that children will get so much from. Putting aside maybe just 5 minutes in your day, and often later in the day, perhaps after dinner and before you start that bedtime routine, can be a really nice time just to connect and bond with your child through a positive interaction, would be to get the treasure box out, sit down together and have a look what's in there, and really encourage your child to talk to you about what's in that box and why they've put that item in there and how that item makes them feel, and what is it you like about this. And you can talk about the physical attributes of that object, so talk about the textures and the colours and what it physically looks like. You can talk to your child about where they have used that object in the week, so maybe they went out for a walk with a different family member, or actually at their childcare setting, and they've got something they've put in there that actually you weren't with them when they collected that item. They can engage in a little bit of storytelling and retelling that experience for you. So it's really going to support their language and communication skills by having these opportunities to talk and have these conversations. But it's also going to provide them with that interaction that's really going to build their self-confidence and self-esteem through feeling valued and loved, and really showing them that you are enjoying spending that quality time with them. It can just be that really short, fairly intense period of time can add so much value to a child's day. We're all very busy, lots of parents are out at work or have other children to support as well, and there's lots going on in our busy lives. So it can be difficult to have that interaction lots and lots throughout a day, but actually there's a lot of value in just having that small amount of quality time to reconnect and to bond and have that closeness. So using a treasure box can be a really productive way of doing that. So a little craft project that you can then use throughout your week. Another activity that can really support children, particularly with that transition back into a childcare setting, say preschool or starting school, is to play some turn-taking games with them. So there are lots of games that you could go out and buy, board games and things that are age appropriate that you could play with your child and sit down and have that opportunity for them to engage in some turn taking. This is quite a tricky skill, and actually developmentally it's something that starts to emerge around the age of 3 to 4, where they start to truly understand and be able to deal with that concept of turn taking in a game. So don't worry if your child is struggling a little bit with that. It's something that they are going to build as a skill over time. But we can actually make this quite simple. I've got a little dominoes game here that was cut out of a children's magazine, and you can print things like this from the internet for free, that's got some little characters on there. So you might be able to engage with perhaps a favourite story or television programme of your child and create something that ties into that interest. Dominoes is a really simple game for children to learn how to play that helps them to learn those social skills of turn taking, which then they're going to take into those childcare and educational environments, a really crucial skill that they're going to need a little bit later. Building that in the home environment is a really key way of doing that. So some turn taking games are a really lovely way that you can support your child's period of transition. Another way that we can really support our children's self-esteem, which again then connects to that confidence, which then connects to making them those successful and happy learners, is to celebrate their achievements and successes throughout the day. As adults, we can actually find that quite difficult sometimes to recognise and celebrate our own achievements. But when we do that, we're modelling that for our children, that this is a really positive thing to do. We're showing them that actually it's good to feel good about yourself, and we want children to feel really good about themselves as often as they can. So it's really important that we model this for children, and this is something that we engage in as a family. And the way that you can do that quite simply is to create a "what are you proud of today" board at home. So maybe this is something that you put up on your kitchen fridge or somewhere that you spend lots of time together as a family, and you just have it there And you either have some pens that you can write straight on with, or some post-its are quite handy because then this becomes quite reusable. And what I would encourage you to do is to actually engage in this yourself. So maybe around dinner time each day, you could say to your child, oh, I've just thought something that I was really proud of today. I got all of the jobs that I had on my to-do list done today. I did all of the jobs that I needed to do around the house. And I'm really proud of that because that's helped me to feel really organised and ready for the next day. So I'm going to write that on one of these post-it notes and I'm going to put it on our proud board so that we can all see that. And then you could ask your child to suggest something that they feel proud of today. And these can be really, really small things. It might be that they put their coat on by themselves, or they help to tidy up their toys. It could be anything really small. It might be that they said something kind to one of their friends or another family member. It doesn't have to be a really big achievement, like a great learning goal. It can just be something that's very small and everyday. And we put that on this board. And they're going to get a lot out of that activity of actually recognising their own achievement, but they're going to gain so much from seeing you recognising your own achievements as well, because we are modelling that behaviour for them. We are teaching them that it's really important to feel good about yourself, to have that positive self-esteem, because that's going to connect to their confidence, their independence and their success as learners. So let's model that achievement. Let's be proud of ourselves, because actually as parents and carers we have so much to be proud of ourselves for on a daily basis. It's not easy. So just picking out those little things that we feel proud of ourselves for, show our children that, and that's going to help them to feel proud of themselves too. When children feel very supported by their parents and carers, and that they feel that they are loved and they have that attachment, that bond to their main caregiver, that in itself will give children lots of confidence. However, it can be quite difficult for children to be separated from that main caregiver. It's perfectly normal part of their development that they will have that separation anxiety and that they will struggle with being away from you. And this is particularly key right now. For a lot of people, their children have been with them for considerable amounts of time beyond the normal situation, because we've all been at home. So actually to then separate from that caregiver and go back into that childcare setting or educational setting can be really difficult. What's added to that is that a lot of children use what we call transitional objects. So that might be a Snuggie or a teddy bear, or a special blanket, something that they have with them all the time, and that ordinarily they would take that with them. The guidelines in a lot of settings at the moment are to prevent that spread of virus, that actually children are allowed to take these items into those settings, and this is perfectly understandable and it's necessary for everybody's health, but that can be quite difficult for a child if they are quite reliant on that transitional object, that one item that maybe has that smell of home on it because it's a soft fabric item, or that smell of their parents that they find really comforting to have with them throughout the day. If at the moment they're being told that as far as possible we need to avoid taking those items into these settings, we need to think of a way that we can support our children in a different way. So rather than using transitional objects, we can use something that's called objects of transition. And these can be items that become part of their routines and rituals for the day, but it's not always necessarily that one same item. So again, in ordinary times, it might be that your child takes something into that childcare setting with them each day that reminds them of home, and you might find that your child often wants to pick up like a really random item and take it with them to nursery or school each day, because it's something that they can feel connected and bonded with us throughout the day, and we still can't do that to some extent. But what we can do is build something into our routines and rituals that we do before we leave the house. And what I've got here are my little love books. So what I've got here are some little pebbles that have been collected and decorated, and they all look like little books. And this is something that you could do with your child. So you could go and collect some stones together, and you can maybe paint them together to create these little love books. And what you can do is you can assign each person in your household with their very own love book. And everybody has their special book, and that belongs to them. And this book holds all of the love and all of the loving feelings that they have inside of them. When we hold our love books, we can put that into our love book. And they're going to hold that for us for the day. And what you can do is you can explain to your child that when we can't all be together because we have to go out to work and to nursery and to school and we're going to be apart for that period of the day, what we can do is before we leave the house, we can pick up our love book and give them an extra squeeze and put lots of that love into our little love book, and we can pop it into our family bug nest. And then Mummy can do the same with her bug, or Daddy, or any of those adults and caregivers in that house, and siblings can do it too. And what we're going to do is we're going to put our bugs all together in the nest for the day. And they are going to hold all of that love together throughout the day. And when we come home and we're all together again, we can take our little love bugs out. We can give them a little hold, and we can put them back in each of our separate special places. So that might be that your child keeps their love bug on a special shelf or in their bedroom or somewhere that they choose to keep it. And what that can give the child is a little ritual, a little routine that you do before you leave the house that helps them to connect with that idea that you're going to be apart for a period of time, but it's only temporary and you're going to come back together later. And if they feel a little bit sad or a little bit lonely because they're not with you during the day, they can have a little think about that love bug nest at home that's holding all of that love and all of that comfort and waiting for everybody to get back home again. So it's kind of a physical symbol of you being together even when you are not. And this will work in a similar way to that object that they would take into school with them. What we're doing is we're creating a really special moment before we leave the house with something quite concrete that the child can focus on, a physical act of putting all that love in one place that we're going to come back to later when we've finished our day, wherever that might be. So something you could try, you can really adapt that as a very loose concept for how it might work for your family and for the ages and stages of your children, but as an idea of something that you do as a ritual in the morning to bring everything together before you leave the house for the day. Tying into that, a really useful tool, again like the treasure box, and having that time where you can reconnect and re-establish that bond when you're back together after that period of separation, would be to use books and stories as well. So putting aside a little bit of time in the evening, bedtime's perfect. Just have that quiet moment where you share a story, where you can really reconnect, have that quiet time together. And it's these little moments that are going to support children to feel strong and resilient and confident during the day when they are going through these really tricky transitions that we are all going to find really difficult right now. Another thing that we can do to support children in periods of transition is to support their resilience and to help them to build their sense of resilience to take throughout the day with them. And resilience is built through experiences, by having a go, by facing challenges, and by managing setbacks and disappointments. And as many opportunities as we can find to provide for our children when we're with them to face these things, the more resilient they're going to be when we're not there to be that direct support for them. And a really great way to build resilience is through being outdoors. Now we are able to go to playgrounds and parks again now, they're open. We're still observing that social distancing and making sure that we are hand washing lots, but that is something that we are now safe and able to do. Playgrounds are absolutely fantastic for building children's resilience because it gives them the opportunities to try things, have a go, manage those setbacks if they have a little tumble or they find something a little bit difficult. And what I would encourage you to do is to have a slightly hands-off approach to supporting your children when they are accessing that playground equipment. So if they are playing on some climbing equipment, things that require them to be a little bit more physically independent, allow them to do that as much as possible. Be there as that support, and we can verbally tell them that. I'm here if you need me, my hand is right here, let me know if you need some help. And allowing our children to have a go for themselves before we kind of rush in and give them that support. So spending some time at the weekends or in the evenings on playgrounds and parks, letting your children have a go at things, having that little bit of independence while you are just by their side, just at that safe distance, so we're making sure that they're not having any falls that might cause them an injury, but just letting them have that little bit of independence while they feel safe with you by their side is going to build that confidence for other opportunities and experiences that they might have when we are not with them throughout the day. So just a selection of things there that you could try to support your child through this period of transition. The most important thing that I want you to take away is that the best way that we can support children with their transition back into childcare and educational settings is to support them with their social and emotional development. The rest will happen later. We're not trying to catch up, no child is behind. Things will get back to normal eventually, but what we need to be doing now is really supporting that emotional well-being, because that is the foundation of a successful learner. If they feel safe, if they feel like they have that positive self-esteem and that self-confidence, that is what's going to equip them best for any other learning that's going to take place. So let's put our focus on that if we can when we're at home. If you'd like any more ideas for things that you can do with your children at home, then you can visit our website, which is www.familycorner.co.uk, or you can head to our YouTube channel. So if you search for the Early Years Alliance on YouTube, there are lots of videos there for tips, hints and tricks for different things that you can do to support your child's learning and development at home.